Oh, and there's one more thing about the bishop knight checkmate from Teach Yourself Chess. In all these examples of checkmate against a lone king, the attacker occasionally made use of a waiting move. In chess, the compulsion to move can sometimes be a disadvantage. When there are many pieces on the board, a move can usually be found which improves one's position. But in the endgame, often only a retreat is available when one would prefer to stand one's ground. Indeed, if the privilege of passing were allowed, none of the mates with rook, two bishops, or bishop and knight would be able to be forced at all. This explains partly why so few of white's moves in the bishop and knight mate are checking moves. White's pieces are used to control squares round the black king. There is no need to attack the king directly since he must move anyway. Indeed, white cannot spare the resources to control the king's square as well as its important retreats. Beginners are often tempted by the chance of a check, but in such endgames, there are usually better tasks for one's pieces. In other words, better things to do with your pieces. As an exercise, you might like to attempt the king and rook mate without giving any check before the final checkmate. As will be seen, the process of gradual restriction is in fact more efficient than the forcing back by checking process given earlier. Okay, here's a couple more positions. I don't remember what book I got these from or out of, but we're going to go ahead and cover this. You can see that the pieces are all spread out. King's way in the corner, and you got to get them to this corner or that corner. We have now reached a typical position in which black must now retreat. Note how the king, bishop, and knight cooperate to control squares around the black king. That move has an exclamation mark on it. It's a really good move for white. And it says, or king to d8, king d6, king c8, and bishop d5, which would have been like this. And then like that. And that would have been really good as well. Finally, the king must be driven away from h8 toward h1, where the bishop will deliver mate. Exclamation mark on that one. Making a run for it. Instead, king to h6 demands less accuracy from white. Exclamation mark on the bishop to c4, because it cuts off that square. The knight's got that and that. Brings the bishop back to here and makes another cutoff. From here, when the bishop comes here, it makes another cutoff, cuts off that flight square, and the knight's got that one. You might notice that familiar W pattern where the knight was like this. Makes that familiar W pattern. That's what Carsten Mueller was talking about in Fundamental Chess Endings. That W pattern looks like a letter W. Then you need a waiting move. Another waiting move. Mate. The most difficult part is from 20 to 24, where the black king appears free only to find it is not. And there is a variation off of that I'll show you. This is that part where it says we have now reached a typical position in which black must now retreat. Again, note how the king, bishop, and knight cooperate to control squares around the black king. This is the variation. If he goes to h6, it demands less accuracy from white. After that move, then it just says continuing the inexorable process towards h1. Just takes less accuracy for white. There's another one. You'll see how that's almost a mirror image of what we just covered. When we had this, like this, anybody remember this? We had that set up. They're just going to swap them out now. And there's that one. There was a variation in that one. There's actually two variations. There's actually two variations in there. That's the main line we'll do in a second. And basically if they go here, you go like that. Block it off. And this is the second variation. Instead of what we just covered, where we went this way with it, this time they try to run back the other way. Not a problem. Easy. Easy peasy. And just like so. So there's that one. We've covered both variations on it. And looks like we covered a couple of variations on the first one. There's one more, which is a third and final. Takes that diagonal and seals that off. You see that? How it seals that off? This is the second variation where they play King H3, Knight G5 check, King H4, and so on. Very similar to the one that we just did, the one that was over there. Very similar to the one that we did that was over there. In fact, it looks like it's similar to a couple of the ones we've already done. And now for the two variations on it. Looks like we just covered the other variation. The one where they go king to d1, king d3 for white, and king c1 for black, and then bishop d4 for white. So he tries to run back the other way. Remember, dark square here and here is where you need to get that king. So as the defender, Black is trying to stay here or here, anywhere on there. Basically, either corner. He's trying to stay out of the corner for the bishop. Try to go to the wrong corner. Now if he tries to run back, this is the other variation. Last time he went this way. This time he's going to try to go back and he's going to try to fight it. Show you what you do when they do that. Not a problem. Not a problem. And then you just walk them on down like we did in the other ones. And that's a wrap. This has been probably the most comprehensive Bishop Knight Checkmate series that we've done. And probably the most comprehensive Bishop Knight mate on YouTube. It's certainly one of the longest. Covers a lot of varieties on the Bishop and Knight mate. A lot of different variations. We've seen a lot of ways the board can be set up with kings in different places and the white king even in different corners. We've seen that. So we call that a wrap. And thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope in your games that you'll be able to get that Bishop and Knight checkmate. It can take as long as 33 moves, but you do have 50 moves without a pawn push or a capture. That's the 50 move rule. So best of luck to you, and I hope that you win a lot of chess games. If it ever comes down to a Bishop and Knight mate, you should have that thing nailed. You should have it really solid. Should have no problem getting that Bishop and Knight checkmate. Practice on your computer. Set it up, try it out on some friends. If you go to a chess club or you just play online, challenge somebody online. Go to chess.com and challenge them.